afternoon on this lovely Tuesday, November 4th. It is, by the way, an election November 4th on this Tuesday. So if you haven't gone out and voted yet, a lot of areas have some important issues that are up. So if you haven't gone and voted yet, go vote, because it's crazy to think, but we are our first Tuesday in November. We are here with you on the Sideline Junkies podcast network. I'm joined by my amazing co-hosts, Showtime Sarah and Scooter. How y'all doing today?
Wonderful.
Just waves.
Fabulous.
That's all we're getting today is just waves. No. Okay, that's fine. We'll let that happen. So, well, we got a big show to get into. I've realized every time I watch that intro, like we might have to get a new intro without just me being in it, because you two are on every show now. So either we got to get one that has all of you or none of us, because I'm tired of seeing my mug in the intro and my silly cat shirt. If I would have known that was going to be the intro forever, I would not have worn my cat shirt that day. But that's okay. Anyway, welcome everybody.
You got to have it in for the next one too.
I guess that's true now. Now I've set the precedent. So let's get going here. So we start off with Osei, Can You Sing Now? I'm only going to, I think they did the other World Series, but let's be honest, the only one that really mattered was the Game 7 of the World Series. That is the one and only. So Paya Toscano, for anyone that watches American Idol, might know her. She was a finalist one year. She did the U.S. version, and Noah Reid did the Canadian version. Both were pretty good. Paya, I thought, was really awesome. She hit every note. Like, she had great range. So she gets a very high score of 47. So another high one of 47. And Noah did okay. He's not going to crack the top 10, but he does higher than the average of 42. So he was okay. I thought he was a little bit pitchier, not quite as exciting, not quite as of a big voice as what Paya delivered for us with the U.S. anthem there in Canada. So it was, but I just love both anthems when we get to see both the anthems. And I will still say this for Canada, man, when they sing the national anthem at their home games and you got the crowd going crazy and singing it with right along, like, it always fires me up. Like, I'm ready to go out and hip check somebody when I see it. So so those were those two there, and that gives us here a new top 10. So Paya does crack the top 10 as well. So we got a log jam at 45 for 10th place. So basically, if you're not hitting 45 or higher, you just aren't getting on there now. So it's fun. It's good to see. I'm trying to get our linked up here, but it's not coming up yet. So I'll get that here in a second here. So I'll work on that here when we get through there. So any thoughts on any of the anthems from the Game 7? We'll, of course, dissect the crazy Game 7 here in a matter of moments, but that was a lot of fun. Nothing for the anthem. Okay, we move on. You guys are quiet for me today. All right, so let's get into the World Series where we left off. Of course, remember, it was we just finished. Our show is starting with Game 4 was going to be that first night. So LA was up 2-1, and then we just had 4 amazing games that hit after that. Game 4, Toronto wins Game 4 and 5 actually in LA to go home up 3-2. And from Game 4, Vlad hits a home run. They tack on 4 in the 7th to pull away. Game 5 was the story of Trey Versavage, which is crazy to think this kid was pitching in Single A to begin the year. He comes out for Game 5 in LA and throws 12 strikeouts in 7 innings for Toronto on their way to a 6-1 win in Game 5. So Toronto's going home up 3-2, feeling good about themselves. And then Mr. Yoshinobu Yamamoto struck. He delivered, of course, in the Game 6, where he went 6 strong innings. LA wins 3-1. And then the crazy Game 7 that we'll dissect here more, where LA wins it in 11 innings, 5-4. Just complete heartbreak for Toronto. They get off to the good start with a 3-run homer. They lead 4-2. Muncy hits a homer in the 8th, and then Miguel Rojas, of all people, hits the homer in the 9th to tie it. Toronto has numerous chances to win it, can't do it, and then Will Smith hits the homer in the 11th for LA to win it. So that's the really, really quick rundown. Sarah, we'll let you go first. Any thoughts on Game 7 or anything else from the World Series? Are you muted?
Yeah, sorry, my internet's being spotty right now. I'm trying to make sure it's good. Yeah. We good? Okay.
Yep, I can hear you now.
No, I would. Okay, cool. This just kind of hurts for Toronto. I mean, I kind of predicted that LA would win anyways, but I mean, Toronto really had a good shot, and ending in 7 is always painful. It's sometimes even more painful than the sweep because like you were this close and it didn't come out that well. But I mean, LA pitching is just insane. I mean, for Otani and Yamamoto to be just pitching great games consistently, even like with the stress of the playoffs, it's just crazy. It's inhuman at that point. But feel bad for Toronto, but kind of predicted this.
Yep, kind of. I mean, we all like, predicting LA to win this thing. Like Jack was making a big deal about that. It's like, oh, that's not that hard of a prediction, picking LA to win the World Series when you have the kind of money that they have. So, Scooter, first, any thoughts for you on the game?
Well, I mean, first of all, when this series started, I said Toronto in 7.
You did.
And last week after Game 3, I said Toronto in 7. And I if I put money down, I would have lost. But that would have been fine. I would have been like, cool, okay, because Toronto played so amazing in the whole series. Because Toronto and LA, I also said after Game 3, they look pretty even when it comes into it. And they kind of showed that. I mean, Toronto showed what kind of offense they have. But then, LA comes back and they show what kind of pitching they have those last 2 games. And yeah, Yamamoto is just insane. On 0 days rest, he goes and he pitched another. What did he do?
3 innings.
98 pitches on Game 6, and then 3.5 innings in Game 7.
Yeah.
Okay. And apparently he's the first player since Randy Johnson. It's only happened like 4 times where he won both Game 6 and Game 7.
Yep. Last time was Randy Johnson.
He deserved that MVP. Just totally deserved that MVP.
Agree 100%. And LA is also, they're one of only 7 teams to go on the road trailing 3-2 to win Game 6 and 7. Of course, the last time that happened was 2016 in the World Series. We shall not discuss any further than that. And I feel bad. I mean, look, if anyone can understand the heartbreak of Toronto losing a game like this, it's definitely me. But Toronto had so many chances to win this thing. In Game 6, they had a lot of, base running blunders. Then you have the whole, was the ball lodged in the wall or not debate. And look, by the rule, it was interpreted correctly, but I think if that player makes an attempt to get that ball out, he probably does. If he does get the ball out, whether or not both runs score, that's a different story. Then on the very next pitch, Berger gets caught off the base anyway. So it probably wouldn't have mattered really anyway. But then in Game 7, like, Toronto left, like, I think it was 13 guys on base, in that 9th inning alone. They've got the bases loaded, twice they bunted a guy over from second to third with 1 out, couldn't score either one of those. In the 9th inning, they got the bases loaded with 1 out. You got the amazing play at home where Rojas, almost fumbles at second base, like he's stumbling. And then the catcher has his foot off of home plate, barely gets it back down before what's his name, Tanner, whatever, the Toronto guy, slides in. And of course, that's a big debate too, is did he need to slide? If he just runs through home plate, would he have been safe? That's another what if for poor old Toronto there. And then of course you have where, LA takes out their center fielder and puts in Podges to play center field. He, practically runs over his left fielder to make the catch on the ball hit by Ernie Clement. That if that drops, Toronto wins the World Series in dramatic fashion. They even had a chance in the bottom of the 10th. They got third and first with 1 out, and Kirk hits into a double play. So they had Yamamoto on the ropes 3 different times and just couldn't get the run. So I feel bad for Toronto. They're gonna have a tough time, thinking about all the wouldas and couldas. Plus that in Game 3, they had LA's bullpen out there for 10 innings and couldn't score a damn run. But now we get into the fun of what does this mean for those that don't know. 2026 is the last year of this collective bargaining agreement for baseball. What does this mean for 2027? Because if you look at who LA pitched for Game 7, they pitched basically their 5 starting pitchers, and it's like $1 billion worth of salary that they pitched in this World Series. And look, I get it. People are, well, any team can do this, which is true. By the letter of law, any team can do what LA did. but nobody has the money other than probably the New York Yankees to do what the Dodgers do. So, and we all know baseball owners can't fix themselves unless they have a salary cap to do it. We all know that the players aren't going to just give the owners a salary cap. Like I'm fully convinced we may not see baseball in 2027 at this point in time. I just don't see a way around it, where I just don't see that the player, unless the owners just cave in on every other article and create a really attractive floor. Because you're going to have the salary cap, you got to have the floor for these mid-major teams that don't really spend that much money. They just take the money that they make and run. So I don't know. I don't know where baseball is going to head after this year. I just have a bad feeling that next year might be the last baseball that we see for a while. Scott, any thoughts on it?
Could be, but let's just enjoy it right now, and let LA enjoy their victory. And then deal with that at an upcoming time, because you may be 100% right on that one. It's going to be difficult, but then we got next year. See what goes on with that. But yes, the LA Dodgers starting pitching is just not only are they great, but they're like $1 billion great. You're right.
Yeah, it's crazy. Is there any thoughts on any of that stuff before we move on?
No, I had watched like a interesting skit of being the Dodgers just won the World Series and they're still trying to figure out their pitching. So the owner or whatever wanted to make a call to Pittsburgh to try getting Paul Skeens. They're like, that's so expensive. And the MLB being like, I can't let that happen. People are going to find out, because there's a whole little dilemma of possible not favoritism. It's obvious, but I don't know. It's very funny. So I've heard a rumor about not having a 2027 season. I don't really know all about it yet, though. But from what you said, it doesn't shock me if it did happen or not.
I think where we're going to know is because, look, the great thing about baseball season is once it ends, the hot stove starts almost immediately. So, within next week, we'll next week we'll get into some of the managerial moves. Like Minnesota's got their manager, Washington's got their manager. We'll dive into a couple more of those next week when we've got some time. And we'll probably already start being able to dive into some of where these free agents are going. But I think what we see with these free agent contracts is going to be a very telling sign. If we see a lot of 1-2 year deals, I think that's a sign that the owners believe that there's going to be a work stoppage in 2027. And so they are not going to want to have these guys locked in on these 8, 9, 10 year, 20, 30, $40 million deals, not knowing what that salary cap is going to be or what it's going to look like. If we see a lot of free ranging money like we usually do, then I think that's maybe a sign of the owners are all just bluffing about the salary cap, and it's probably not going to happen. So let's keep an eye on these contracts that start coming out, because I think that's going to be a big tell of what the owners think. And if it's taking a while for players to sign because they're wanting 5-6 year deals and no team are giving out 5-6 year deals, that's a sign to me that the owners are getting ready to dig in for a work stoppage.
Yeah, you can see some of these teams like Boston, Yankees, Atlanta, several Mets putting huge amounts of 1 year contracts for free agents who they're all trying to win this year.
Yep, it's good. That's what I mean. So we'll see when we see these contracts. I think that'll be a big sign for us of what we're looking for here. So, all right, that's enough baseball. Let's get into some football stuff. So, my beloved Kent State, of course, was on a bye this week because they now the MAC sells their soul to the devil. Where now they have to have you must have Tuesday, Wednesday night games on ESPN. So Kent State goes to play on Wednesday night, but they do still have some news. They named their interim coach Mark Carney as actually the head coach. So they removed the interim tag, which, look, we got 3 wins. This team was expected maybe to win a game. And I watched the video of when they went and they announced to the team that he was made the head coach. And I got to admit, you saw the players generally excited that he got the interim coach removed. Look, it's Kent State football. I'm never going to expect a lot from Kent State football, but the players seem to be buying into whatever he's selling. And when you're a mid-major school, you get buy-in from the players and a coach, anything can happen on that. So I just want to throw that out there. So congrats to Mark. He got the interim tag removed. Anthony's got a quick comment here on the baseball side. I told people the Dodgers were going to win the World Series. You shouldn't trust that bullpen for Toronto. That's what cost them, and no one's consistent around Guerrero. Well, I wouldn't say no one. I mean, Ernie Clement had the record for the most hits in the postseason. He batted something like 400 in this, and so did Springer. Springer just missed 2 games because he was hurt. So it wasn't the bats, other than they couldn't get the timely hit, and even the bullpen. Their closer gave up the home run. It was Shane Bieber that gave up the homer in the 11th, which that's a whole nother thing about bringing in a guy coming off of Tommy John surgery to pitch. But I mean, look, he got 2 outs on 4 pitches, right away. So I don't, how much can you blame him? Who knows? So yeah, I see that. Matt, it's very easy. I'm a Kent State fan because that's where I went to school. So that's my alma mater is Kent State. So I do root for Ohio State. So I'm an Ohio State fan. But in 2027, when Kent State goes to Ohio State and I'm at the Horseshoe, I will be wearing my blue and gold, not my scarlet and gray. Don't you worry about that. And all I want in that game in 2027 is for Kent State to get the opening drive and kick a field goal and be up 3-0, because I will celebrate it. In my view, the game will officially end at that point in time. I'll get the picture of Kent State leading on the scoreboard before they then give up the next 70 points.
Can you also say that Ohio State's going to blow it on Facebook?
They did concern me with that Penn State game at half, but we'll get into that here in a second. So, all right. So we did have some upsets this week. We start with probably the shocker of them all, which I know Showtime Sarah is loving. This NC State team is so screwy. They beat Virginia earlier this year for their only L, and then they go and they beat Georgia Tech, who was looking pretty damn good, 48-36, and the score wasn't even really that close, to be honest with you. Georgia Tech got a late touchdown to kind of make it look a little bit more respectable, but then NC State will go and turn around and lose to teams they shouldn't be, that they shouldn't lose to. So I don't know what NC State is, but I know that they affected Georgia Tech. So Sarah, let's let you go first and enjoy the moment of this football game.
Okay, so I was actually out in Cary that night, and I talked about last week that, and Georgia Tech had a pretty easy win against us. I was not confident that we would win at all. But I remember my dad had actually texted me like at the end of the third quarter being like, damn, NC State. I was like, don't say anything, because we will screw it up. Like I was just waiting for us to give up 14, because you're only down by 8, I think, at that point. And then I had gotten home because I was carried from, and then we had won, and I was like, oh my God. And then of course Dad was like, how do you beat Georgia Tech and Virginia, but you're 5-4? And I was like, we have to keep it interesting, okay? You will never know our next move. And that just like, I don't even know who we play next week. I think we're actually on a bye week. I do know we play Florida State. So I'm sure now I feel confident about us being Florida State. So I'm just going to ride this high while I can, and just go with it. I mean, we'll be bowl. Hopefully I'm just selling for us to be bowl eligible. I didn't expect much to go into this season. If we're just bowl eligible, that's all that I care about.
Get in the bowl game. Scooter, any thoughts on the NC State Georgia Tech game?
NC State has a few good victories on their hands that they've done this year. I mean, they lost to like Notre Dame. Yeah. Their losses, Virginia Tech, Duke, Pitt was in there. But the Notre Dame one, but here's the thing, is Georgia Tech, they got their loss. Okay. So they got their loss to a team that beat UVA.
Yep.
So
it's a very weird triangle effect. It's
and UVA is right in the, they're like 15th ranked, and they're in 11th ranked. They're somewhere in that range. So it's not like NC State isn't a tough game. I know they got killed by Notre Dame, but it's
like we're a good team, but obviously, and I guess we're like on an upset, lookout, that we will be a team that will pull off the upset here and there. But it's very, like I said, it's very interesting, and you never know the next move. So just take it.
They're like the Atlanta Falcons of college football right now.
Right. Yeah.
For sure.
The Dr. Jekyll,
Which
Mr.
one are you
Hyde,
gonna get?
exactly. So. And then for more bad news for the ACC, top end of it, and this one we kind of talked. I kind of said circle this one for a game to watch. And Anthony's got some comments in here, and I will read them, Anthony. I promise you. SMU 26, Miami 20 in overtime. So I mean, Miami's lost a couple of these nail biter type games for their 2 losses, but and I said watch out for. I thought this SMU game could be a tricky one for Miami just because SMU does play well at home. They're one of the they're a decent team. Hell, they made it to the show last year because they got on a run like this. So it's a tough loss for Miami. I'll be honest, I did not get to watch much of this game because I was going on and off the ice at this point in time. So I can't really comment too much on the ins and outs of it. Anthony does have a few comments. I'll go ahead and read them here. The damn rush cost Miami against SMU. If you actually watch the game, it was multiple times that there should have been passing interference calls on SMU and wasn't. And then he says, and also that should have been an incomplete. That receiver went voluntarily out of bounds and shouldn't have been allowed to catch the ball. So I didn't honestly get to see the game, Anthony. I was on the ice, so I can't tell you. I won't make comments about a plays that I did not see, but I will definitely read your version of it for sure. Scooter, did you get to see any of that game?
I didn't. I mean, I saw some of the stats and everything like that. I think it was kind of a cool game, but I think this is hurting Miami's chances now. 2 of the past 3 weeks. Maybe if you get one early and then one late to good teams, but no offense to SMU.
Yeah, and Louisville's a good team. I mean, they're not terrible losses.
Right. The Louisville is a good loss.
Yeah.
SMU is not a good loss, and they're right almost at the same time as
it's bad. Well, we'll save that for later in the show because we have that.
We'll see what they do against Syracuse.
Yeah, Sarah, any thoughts on this game? Did you see any of this one at all, or?
I didn't see it, but I just don't trust Miami. That's why I didn't put them in my ratings last week. I mean, I did a little hint to this week, but it's very confusing because I mean, like, they are a good team. I mean, like, they have all this whole debate. I mean, they do have a good team, but is this just a Miami thing that they do where they just kind of choke it here and there near the end, have this whole run and then actually, because I mean, we had a discussion a couple of weeks ago, if Miami was actually being overrated or underrated.
Right.
I mean, maybe that underrated or overrated was right,
I think what hurts for Miami is, again, it's nothing against Miami. I think they are a damn good team.
Exactly.
I think the problem is just the ACC is just not that good this year, and that's of the four power conferences, I think the ACC is clearly number 4, and that's going to be the problem for Miami. Is you've got 2 losses in a conference that's probably considered weaker than a few of the other conferences. Mostly the SEC. I mean, the SEC is just loaded. And I hate the SEC. I don't like saying that, but we have to call a spade, and the SEC is just loaded with a lot of good teams. Another one, the one towards the bottom, the only one that I found that this was interesting is West Virginia only won 2 games this year, which is kind of not typical West Virginia. Not that they've been relevant lately, but they're normally not a 2-win, not a 2-16, but they did take care of Houston on the road, 45-35. So it gets them their 3rd win. Dropped Houston back out of the top 25. Houston's another one of these teams. They've been in and out. They'll come out. They'll get a decent win, and then they turn around and they lose to West Virginia. So not really a big shock there. But those were our quote unquote upsets. The top 25 results. Technically an upset. Texas does defeat Vandy 34-31. This game was 34-10 going into the 4th quarter. Vandy rolls off 21 points, and they had the ball with a chance. So I'll give Vandy credit because they could have easily just laid this off and died. And that comeback, for a little bit foreshadowing, might have helped keep them in my top 12 because I was getting ready just to write them off. But then they came back with a decent comeback. I'm like, all right, they made it respectable. It's still only their 2nd loss, against 2 really good teams. So, but that was ended up being a fun game to watch. And, good for one, Eli Manning. I think he's finally starting to show what all the hype was about the last couple of weeks. So good for him. It's amazing what happens when you get some time to throw the ball, which he hadn't had earlier in the season too. So a nice win for Texas. A tough loss for Vandy. I won't say a bad loss, but a tough loss. Any thoughts on this game, guys?
I think we had put it on an upset marker, at least last week when we were talking about a rankings. They said that if this was a game that they were going to lose, it was probably going to be this one. So I mean, not really any shocker, but I wouldn't be too concerned about Vandy. Like you said, their 2 losses have been against very good teams. So,
Scooter, any thoughts on this one?
I mean, Texas is probably the better team. Obviously, they would, but they're probably the better team anyways than Vanderbilt.
I like it. This one was kind of the battle for whoever lost this game gets their third loss. And let's be honest, getting 3 losses even in the SEC, your chances of getting into a playoff, into the playoffs aren't that good. Probably slim and none. So Oklahoma stays alive by taking out Tennessee 33-27. A back and forth game. This one was kind of your typical SEC game, a good one. But so Oklahoma keeps alive. I mean, they've got their losses are Vandy and I think it was Alabama. I mean, that's not terrible. So where does this leave them? I mean, they've got to run the table probably, and we'll get into maybe some Oklahoma talk later on as well. But a big win for Oklahoma to stay alive in the playoff chase. Sarah, anything on it?
No, I mean, I like Tennessee. Like, I kind of wish they would have pulled it off. I mean, it was a close game, so again, I wouldn't be too concerned. But like you said, getting 3 losses in the SEC with how packed it is right now, it's very slim chances to getting in anywhere. But it was a good game.
Yep. Scooter, anything on this one?
It's not because Aguiar had like almost 400 yards passing, like 4 touchdowns. He threw a bunch of passes. I don't know, like 8, 9 different people. So it's unfortunate. He's good. He's a nice little quarterback to watch. So it was a on the other side, Oklahoma, they just played the game. Statistically, like player wise, it's not it's like okay.
Yep, they just somehow found a way to win. That's all that matters. And then the late big game, which ended up being a little bit of a surprise to me because I thought the way Cincy was coming along, I thought that I'm not surprised that Utah beat him because it was out in Utah, but I thought this game would be a lot closer than what it was. Utah just destroyed Cincinnati 45-17. I think Cincinnati was gaining some talk about a possible, bubble surprise team for the college football, and I think you can pretty much throw that out the window now. They do still have some big games coming up, a chance to prove themselves later with a game against BYU and stuff. But this doesn't help them any, that's for sure. Any thoughts on this one? I know it was a late one. It was a 10 o'clock start for us on the East Coast, so.
I was only worried about like what Cincy would do. Utah,
yeah.
I mean, it didn't really matter to me, but Cincy and Utah's a good team. So
there was the college game day obviously that they were doing where they do like the little kicker challenge. Yep. And I guess the one guy, he was like 3 for 5 in high school and like made the all pro team. And I guess he had missed the first time, but apparently his partner called a timeout. So then they got it again. Then they did it again. He got it that time. But it was a very interesting clip that I saw.
That's cool. I like it. Most of the top 5 were idle. Alabama didn't play, Texas A&M didn't play, BYU didn't play. So the 2 big boys, did what they're supposed to do. Ohio State crushes Penn State 34-10. It was 17-14 at the half, which did have me a little bit concerned. But Ohio State comes out and just slaying the ball again. I gotta admit, I wasn't too sure about Slaying at the start of this season, but watching him these last 5 games, and he's got 15 touchdowns, no interceptions, and 81% completion percentage. Like, and it's not like he's dinking and dunking the ball. These aren't like these little 2-yard passes that the guys, I mean, like he's throwing 15, 20, 25, 30-yard bombs, and they're just either only where the guy can catch them, and they're in the perfect spot. Like he's throwing the long ball just as accurate. And when you got Tate and Smith to run it down, like, anything's possible. And, that's really scary. And in Indiana, and remember, I thought maybe Maryland might give Indiana a game. They did not. Indiana just completely waxed them, so Indiana, Ohio State keep heading towards that run for eventually maybe meeting the Big Ten championship game. And who knows, maybe meeting again further on down the road. So those 2 hold serve pretty easily.
There was another game where both Mendozas played quarterback.
Yes. That's right, because Penn State had Mendoza, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
that he was not as good.
No, they both Mendozas, the brothers.
Did they? They both.
They're both on the Heaters. Yeah, second game in a row where they both played.
Gotcha.
At quarterback.
that you can do that when you're destroying your opponent very easily. So, is there any thoughts on Ohio State or Indiana?
No.
Okay. All right. So with that being said, we do have, of course, the big matchup this week. The number 1 is going to be BYU, Texas Tech. This is, sadly, what's kind of crazy is these two teams could still play each other again. Texas Tech does have one loss in the Big 12, so if they lose number 2, they might fall out of the Big 12 championship game. But if Texas Tech beats BYU, they'll both be sitting there at one loss. I think then they still kind of control their own destiny, so to speak, to then meet again in the Big 12 championship game. But they play each other now, 8 against 9. It's at Texas Tech. Any thoughts on this game? I kind of want to see BYU win. I like these teams that aren't the quote unquote big schools, that go on these runs and then maybe can give a challenge. And BYU kind of seems like they could be that team this year.
I'm going for Texas Tech. I mean, I want to see if they can play again. I mean, go for it both, I mean, I do think both teams are really good. I mean, BYU is a little bit more surprising. Texas Tech has kind of like always been in the runnings, at least the last couple of years going on. So I would like to see Texas Tech win so I could see them play again, because I think this is a fun matchup.
Agree.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Texas Tech on this one. They're gonna beat BYU, and BYU they're the one-time NCAA champions of football back in like '83.
It was.
Yeah,
that's true.
So
It's been a while for them.
I see Texas Tech winning.
All right. These next two, like I said, that's it for top 25 matchups against each other. I put these two in there just because, LSU with their new coach, it's the first game since they fired Kelly. How do they respond, at home against Alabama? Can they all rally with each other and give Alabama a game? I don't honestly think they will, but that could be a storyline. And the Notre Dame is at home against Navy. This loses a little bit when Navy got absolutely destroyed last week by North Texas. I think, Notre Dame is sitting number 10. But we're talking about playoff matchups for them. I think this game would have maybe be a little bit better if Navy was staying undefeated, but pretty much a must win for Navy against a decent, for Notre Dame. If they want to get into the top 12 conversation, they've got to beat Navy.
Why are they number 10 though? Like, I don't think they should be number 10.
I don't disagree with you. I thought that them being back up to 10 with who they played since their 2 losses, and especially the loss to Miami now, I don't think looks as good as it did at the beginning of the year. I kind of in agreement. I think 10 is a little high for me, but I think some of that just because their losses were earlier in the year. That's the only reason I can explain it.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Earlier in the year, I mean, I get that, and they should beat Navy. They should beat them. I don't want to say they'll destroy them, but they should meet them handily. I think Alabama is just going to take care of business at LSU. So,
yeah, I agree with that. All right, so with that, it's time to reveal our new updated college playoff predictions. Now, since our last show, we did confirm, or I confirmed anyway, looking at how other people are doing it. There are the 5 automatic bids. The 15 does have to be a conference champion from not one of the big 4. So just when we get to that point, we have confirmed that, and then the other 7 spots are your fun spots. So here, let's start with this. These are the spots that there are no changes in. So Scott only has his number 1 spot that remained the same with Ohio State. Sarah's 1 through 3 remained the same with Ohio State, Indiana, and Texas A&M. My top 5, there is no changes. Ohio State, Alabama, Indiana, Texas A&M, and BYU all stay in these spots. Our first change was Scooter going with Alabama moving up a spot. So now they had a bye week. So Scott, what made you move Alabama up to 2?
Oh, I think they're going to win out and then win the SEC championship.
Okay. And then I'll give you your number 3 because that one you moved Indiana down a spot, even though they beat Maryland. So any reason as to why you flip-flopped Alabama and Indiana?
Indiana loses to Ohio State, Big Ten.
Okay.
So Alabama deserves to move up.
Okay. And which I've kind of already predicted that to happen when I did these last week. So that's why for me, I didn't have really much movement there. So then you move Texas A&M up a spot. So they move up to 4. Any thoughts on why you moved A&M up 1?
Probably exactly why you have Texas A&M at number 4 as well, because they're going to lose to Alabama.
All right. I probably agree with that. All right. And so, Sarah, you moved BYU up 2 spots to number 4. Give me your thoughts on BYU up to 4.
Looking at how the standings are right now, there are only 4 undefeated teams. It would make sense that the 4 undefeated teams would be on the top right now. I get the glazing Georgia, Alabama, but just undefeated is better than a 7-1 record. So I had to put BYU at 4 because it just makes sense to put the undefeated team at number 4. The undefeated team's at the top.
I think that's sound logic. I got no complaints with that. Scott, you moved Georgia down 1. Now they did struggle with Florida this week, and some would argue a bad look again. Trying to figure out these replay officials. Florida appears to me to make a good catch on a bomb that they would have been driving down the field on. They somehow determined that it was incomplete, and then the replay somehow thought it was incomplete. It looked like he got his arm under it all day to me, but Georgia does struggle with the Florida team. Again, kind of similar spot. Florida's, that's their first game since they fired their coach. So is that your reasoning behind moving Georgia down just from their performance against Florida?
No, they moved down because they don't get into the SEC championship.
Okay.
But there's all these are great teams, I think.
Oh yeah. I don't think anyone's debating that. So,
yeah.
All right. And then Sarah, you moved Texas Tech up 2 spots to number 5. Is that because of the undefeated thing?
Yeah, I'm going off of the undefeated still. Of course, that might change this week, which is kind of a little scary. But
oh wait, no, Texas does have a loss, don't they? Texas Tech does have a loss, right? They're
yeah, I think they only have 1 loss, which I can't remember who it was against. But no, I mean they sit 3rd right now in their conference. But I mean, I think what was it? I think I was going off of it. I mean, maybe my rankings weren't fully updated because sometimes the NCAA is a little slow with it. But I'm pretty sure they're 7-1, but still just having like the 1 loss. I'm just trying to go in the correct order here of like, okay, well, how many games have you played compared to also like division wise, I think, or conference wise, they're 4-1. So
I like that. All right. Number 6, Scott, you stayed there with Oregon. They are there at 6, so no change for you there at 6. Sarah, you moved Ole Miss up to number 6, so they move up 2 spots. Any reason as to why they moved up other than the other teams falling, and so they're the ones that you put up at 6? Uh-oh, she's frozen.
No.
All right. We'll come back to her on that one because she looks like she's frozen there. I also moved Ole Miss up to 6, and mostly it's because the team that I had 6, which was Georgia Tech, lost. So somebody had to go up there, so I moved Georgia Tech up to 6 as well. So we both move Ole Miss up a spot. We'll see where Ole Miss goes on this one. They've got Citadel, Florida, and Mississippi State. And they did beat a decent South Carolina team, so I give them that as far as the reasoning for moving up the 1 spot. You also moved Ole Miss up 1, Scott, so you got them at 7.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll do well, but they're not going to win the SEC, and they're not in the championship hunt. I don't believe at all.
Yep, I agree with you. They're not. I just think I'd love to see them kind of get into the SEC championship game, but I think they're going to need a lot of help to do there. So we'll see how that goes.
Ringo.
There. I
Get
can
out of
hear
there.
now.
We hear you.
All right.
Yeah.
Sarah, you there? Or Rango? All right. So Alabama, she slides down 3 spots. I kind of wanted to hear why on that one. So
we'll go back.
Yeah. Can you hear us, Sarah, or no? No, not yet. All right. I moved Georgia up to again. They only moved up 2 because of the teams that lost more than my belief in Georgia. I think the Florida loss was a little interesting. So we'll see. They still moved up a couple spots, mostly just because of that reason. But we'll see where they go. Let's see here. She's trying to come back in here. All right. We'll let her keep messing around with that here. Hold on here. Add to stage. She's back.
Are we good?
Yeah, now you're back.
Okay.
All right. So Sarah, this is what we want to know. You moved Alabama down 3 spots. Why Alabama down 3?
Why?
I moved Alabama down 3. Okay, sorry. I left moving. I think I started cutting out about Ole Miss. But no, what had happened? See, this is what I'm talking about. I'm trying to go off of the thing. BYU is undefeated. You also have Texas Tech 8-1, Ole Miss is also 8-1. Technically, Alabama, Georgia, and Oregon are all 7-1. So I'm just going off of how many more games you played. An 8-1 record is more impressive than a 7-1 record to me. So that's why I put Ole Miss here and then Alabama right behind them.
Okay.
I'm
There
just
we go.
going off the standings right now. But what ranking is better?
I like it. All right, so there's our top 7. Scott, you have 8 at BYU. So BYU moves up a spot, and you have them winning the Big 12. So that's and do you have them undefeated winning the Big 12, or do you think they have a loss in there but still win the Big 12?
There could be a loss in there, but no matter what, I have them winning. They're not in it. They lose 2, but they're not lose 2.
Okay. I agree with that. And so you move Georgia down 1 as well. Is this part of that reasoning with them having the loss and everything, Sarah? Again? She's just now it looks like she's just laying there. Yeah, all right, she's gone again.
My guess is that's true.
She needs to throw up. So Oregon, same thing for me. They slide up to, again, this is more, Oregon had a bye week. This is nothing from what they did this week. It's just because 2 teams that were ahead of them lost. And so these teams that were behind them are the ones that I decided were enough to move up. Their only losses to a good Indiana team. Granted, they play in the Big Ten, which I know has got their own issues with the top-heavy conference right now. But I still think Oregon is a damn good team. So you've got Texas Tech at 9 up to Scott. Well,
I see them winning out, but then they go play BYU and lose.
Okay, I like it. This is new for Sarah, so we'll get if we can get her, and Oregon makes their first appearance because she did not have them in last time, so they are in at 9 for her first one there. Mine is new as well. I did not have Texas Tech making the field, but with the happenings of a couple teams losing, I think that Texas Tech is the team that then gets a spot. They've only got 1 loss. We'll see how they do against BYU, but for now, Texas Tech is in my top 12 and making the playoff. So Scott, for you, this is a new one for you. You have Louisville as the ACC winner.
They win the ACC. They're in.
I like it.
It's as simple as that.
Yep. All the 4 big ones all have to get in, so they're guaranteed a spot. Now,
and I'm certainly not putting them in the top 5.
Yep, and this is where Sarah kind of comes in on that too. She's got Virginia though winning that.
This is good.
So, yeah, nice. So now she did have Virginia at her 12th spot, so she's got them up 2, but winning the ACC championship game, which I like that. It's at least a nice bold pick. For me, I still think Georgia Tech holds on and wins this thing, but they do fall. So Georgia Tech took the big fall. They were at 6. They fall 4 spots down to 10. But for now, I still have Georgia Tech in.
Nice. We have all different winners there.
Yep. And you have Georgia Tech still in as well, but they slid down 4 from their loss to NC State.
Yeah, that loss, we talked about that, and then but I see them in the championship game, and I think they're a good team.
I don't disagree with you there. I still think they get in. Similar, Sarah has Georgia Tech. They took the biggest fall for her. They went down 6 spots after that loss. So, but she does also still keep a Georgia Tech team in there. So she's got 2 ACC teams. You have 2 ACC teams. As of right now, I only have 1 ACC team, and that's because I still keep Vandy in the top 12. I thought really hard about a couple of my first teams out, which the top one I thought about was Oklahoma. But the bottom line is Vandy beat Oklahoma. And so when it comes down to the last spot, I just don't see how I can put a team in that lost to another team that is on that same bubble. So for me right now, Vandy is the first 2-loss team in. That could be subject to change because we'll see how the rest of the season goes. So for now, I've got Vandy as my number 11. And so this is where the fun comes because, again, we talked about the 5th conference team that has to be in. You have Memphis has the team winning the American, has your 12th seed, which they are, of course, they are currently in the top 25 right now.
And I see the American as the best conference out there other than the Big 4.
I do agree with you. So that's why I also have Memphis right now in that spot. Remember last week I had Navy there, but their loss to North Texas took them right out of that. But I still have Memphis winning that now, winning the American and getting that 12th spot. This one I kind of like. I wish you didn't have the Wi-Fi issues.
Nice.
She takes JMU, which they're sitting there at 7-1. They're having a great year in the Sun Belt. I don't think the Sun Belt is necessarily that great of a conference, but if they win out, I could maybe see JMU being a fun story at 12. I don't know if it'll happen or not, but that was her pick for number 12, which I do at least like that. It's kind of something different.
That's fun.
So let's see. Let's see if it works this time.
Hey!
Maybe. Are you there? Not really.
You can't hear you.
She's there, but not here. Midnight Rider checks in Georgia. Georgia Tech will end up having playoff implications. Yeah, I agree with that. That's going to be a big one. We kind of talked about that one last week of the fun that Georgia Tech matchup is going to have. Texas Tech, obviously with BYU too. That's another one that's going to be a big implication. Of course, all these SEC teams have their own. Ole Miss probably has the easiest. They've only got Florida, Mississippi State left. You have, let's see here. Alabama's got Oklahoma still to come later this year, so that's going to have some playoff implications. Who's Texas A&M got? They got Missouri coming up. That's this week, so they should be able to handle Missouri and South Carolina. But yeah, we've got some fun ones coming up. Vandy still has Tennessee later too, so they're Tennessee might be out of it. They might be able to play that role as spoilers. So Sarah, can you hear us or no? Looks like she's back frozen again. So poor Sarah, she's just having a bad Wi-Fi day. That happens. But there you have it. So there's our top 12. So again, remember how this would work. The top 4 teams get the bye. So in our theory matchup, you'd have Georgia playing Memphis. I'd have BYU playing Memphis. You've got Oregon, Georgia Tech. I'd have Ole Miss against Vandy. You'd have Ole Miss against Louisville, which would be fun. I've got Georgia against Georgia Tech again, which could be interesting because they could just play a few weeks before that, then have to turn around and play again. But I like Ben said, I think that's gonna create some issues there for them anyway. So there we have it. There is our college.
I think it's
football.
really an issue for Georgia Tech. If Georgia Tech loses,
yeah, they're probably done.
Now Georgia can handle the loss, I believe.
They could, because that would only be their second, if that's their only loss.
Yeah.
Georgia still has Mississippi State, Texas to get through. So we'll see how that goes.
But again, if Georgia Tech, now it's just it could, because Georgia Tech if they lose, they may need to win the championship to get in. But because Georgia Tech versus Georgia is not a conference. Yeah.
Yep. So we have our first team out. So you've got Notre Dame. I put Oklahoma there technically, but I kind of did 3. I got Oklahoma, Miami, and Notre Dame that I all kind of thought about. But those are kind of my first team outs. Showtime's got Oklahoma and Louisville has the first team out. So we all kind of agree on Notre Dame possibly being a team that could still get into this thing. But they can
definitely get in. But Notre Dame, they're playing Syracuse and Pitt, and they're not like. They play teams well.
Yep. Pitt's been playing really good this year too. I mean, Pitt still has a chance to get into the ACC championship game, which is kind of crazy to think about. So we'll see how this all plays out. We'll get some more answers again this week, and we'll keep doing this every week as we get closer and closer and closer to the fun. All right, and these are the teams that we had in last week that are out. Yours, Miami and Vandy. Mine is Miami and Navy, and Cincy and Vandy are out for Showtime. So that's where we're at. All right, so now let's get into some NFL stuff. Just when you think that you know what's going on in the NFL proves us wrong yet again. We had some great upsets again this week. Pittsburgh takes care of Indy. Minnesota takes care of Detroit, and then probably one of the biggest ones is Carolina taking care of Green Bay. These 3 all kind of surprised me. Any thoughts on any of these 3 upsets, Scooter?
Well, people better beware of Carolina, because there's an actual good team now. I think they're 5-4.
They are. They're right there in the playoff mix,
and they're looking good. They have a running game, a double-headed running game, and Rico Dowdle's he's a legit running back. And then sticking him in Chuba, I mean that's in Green Bay. Okay, so Green Bay is kind of like the good Atlanta Falcons of this year.
Yep.
You don't know which one you're going to get, but they're good. I mean, the Falcons, we got to think that they're not that good. But Minnesota, Detroit, that's going to happen. JJ McCarthy coming back in there, that might surprise some people. I wasn't shocked at all. Now that it's almost like he steadied the ship a bit. And the Pittsburgh over Indy, you had to see Indy losing at some time soon, Pittsburgh makes sense to beat them, and Pittsburgh's. I'm going to be a little surprised at Pittsburgh this year, and you never should. I guess they should.
I know.
Win the
These are the games that Pittsburgh finds a way to win, and then they'll turn around this week and like lose to somebody that they just shouldn't lose to. So, I think of these three, the one that surprised me the most was the Green Bay, just because the Green Bay should, especially in Green Bay, like that's not a game that they should lose at home. And I know a lot of people love LaFleur, their head coach. I just don't see it. Like, I don't know. I'm just not like, this Green Bay team should be way better than what they are. They should be like the same record as Indy, 1-2 losses at the most. And yet here they are, and with the way the NFC West is looking right now, Green Bay's flirting with maybe missing the playoffs, which, I did not see that being the case when you look at this roster at the beginning of the year. So I don't know why Green Bay can't put it together. There's still time for them to put it together, but they're the team to me that's just so frustrating. Like, they should just be way better than what they are.
I think Pittsburgh and Rodgers, they kind of exposed the defense of Indy a bit, and definitely their secondary. So
what's crazy, but we'll get to Indy and their improvement on their secondary when we talk about the trades here in a second. So no surprise here. Buffalo beats Kansas City. They do it all the time in the regular season. The question will be, of course, can they do it in the playoffs if Kansas City makes the playoffs, which right now is still a questionable option for them too. But Buffalo did what they needed to do. I think they beat KC at home. So KC kind of comes back to earth, and we'll dive again into standings a little bit more next week too when we get another week into everything. But that's a good win for Buffalo at home against KC.
Yeah, I thought KC would pull that out, and I should never pick KC in Buffalo in the regular season.
Right. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Buffalo has their numbers there, but Buffalo, the thing is with KC is when they lose like that, it's because Patrick Mahomes is getting rushed like crazy. You saw in the Super Bowl, like 2 Super Bowls, the Tampa one also is along with Philly. You rush that guy, you make him feel uncomfortable, and that's what Buffalo did there.
So Showtime says officially she's had that the Wi-Fi is not cooperating with her, so she's going to put stuff in the comments. So Sarah, since you're listening, go ahead and get your comments in for Dancing with the Stars, and then I will read your comments, and then that will be our segment. If you can't get it up and running by the time we get to that, so work on those comments for me just in case if you can't get back in. All right.
She had a sad face too down there.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, it was very, very, very good.
We're sad too.
So I wanted to bring this up, for look, I feel for you Commanders fans, because look, like I'm not a Commanders fan. I don't cheer, I don't root against them, but knowing Scooter, you're on the show, you're a huge Commanders fan. Midnight Rider, the guys on Tuesday night, huge Commanders fans. So I've kind of learned to try to like rooting for them, because I want to see. There's only one team that anyone on any of the shows roots for that I can't do. And of course, that is the New York Yankees and KG. I just can't root for the Yankees. Can't do it. But everyone else, okay, like unless we're playing each other, like I cheer for the Caps unless they're playing against the Canes. Like I like seeing the Caps do well. That's kind of where we're at. But I was nervous for Washington going into the season, looking at it from outside views, because okay, was last year just one of those years where everything goes right, and teams weren't going to take them for granted. And this year it just, they get destroyed by Seattle. Their head coach makes a stupid decision in keeping Daniels in the game. He gets hurt with a pretty significant looking injury. We'll see how much time he ends up missing. And it just, everything that can go wrong for Washington is going wrong this year. Scott, what are your thoughts on your Commanders? Is there any hope of them salvaging this season, or is it all about trying to figure out who can make this team better next year?
This is the season they were supposed to have last season. So it's kind of reversing itself. There's that. They still don't have that big talent pool that they want to get yet. Their wide receiver core has been decimated, and then Jaden's been injured a bit. Never mind the most recent injury, but he's been he's missed several games.
Right.
And he is the team. He is what brings the energy, if you will. So he is the superstar of that team. You lose your superstar, and you don't have all the talent around you, especially in the wide receiver core. It gets tough because who are some of the guys? Chosen. I'm trying to name some of the wide receivers on the team. They just lost Luke McCaffrey. he played the kickoff, and then his shoulder broke, so he didn't play the rest of the game. He's out for the season. So they're definitely having some injury problems. Lattimore, I don't know what was wrong with him all year, and now he's gone. He didn't look good all year. There were some players they should have wanted to keep, like defensively. What am I thinking? He's now in the Cowboys. He played last night. They wanted him on defensive end. He signed over with Dallas. I can't get the name at the moment. I'm sorry. So it's just hasn't. It's been a tough season. Should they salvage? I mean, see what happens this week. You can only take it 1 week at a time. They didn't do anything at the trade deadline. I mean, Debo's on the team. The guys, everyone's there, as far as I know. But you should just try to play the game set, see what happens. Every game you can get in. We've seen that kind of stuff happen before.
Yeah.
I mean, it stinks, but Joe Gibbs did it twice in the 2000s, and then Shanahan did it in 2013, 2014. Yep. So they could have these 6-game runs where they get in, and especially if you do a 6-game run, if you win out, you'll get in. But that's where they're at right now.
Raymond with a comment. Yeah, I saw the video too, and you're right that the injury between Jaden and RG3 are pretty scary. How similar they are. Of course, it's that same lovely field at FedEx Field. Well, I still call it FedEx Field. Is it still FedEx Field, or is it some other name now?
It's called FedEx. Northwestern.
Whatever.
The whole thing was that, I mean, it was at the same area, if that's what he's talking about, the same field area, because we're talking about two totally different parts of the body, though. A non-throwing elbow, which is dislocated. It may need a surgery. He may be out the rest of the year versus a torn ACL and torn MCL on a right knee for the quarterback who runs all the time. So Dante Fowler, thank you, Big Ben. Awesome. Yeah, Dante Fowler, that's what I was thinking of. But I get it. And this totally is not going to derail Jaden Daniels' career.
No, it shouldn't either. And maybe it's best just to, at this point in time, look, you hate to talk about draft pick and positioning and stuff like that, but we'll see what I think. What this is the make or break week for Washington, because you got Detroit, and Detroit's going to be fired up for this game after what happened last year in the playoffs. Detroit has a loss of their own with Minnesota, so here they are again needing a win. And I just think the big problem for Washington is their offense has not helped their defense out at all. Like they're getting behind 1-2 scores in the first quarter, and this league is not, I know they had the great comeback against the Chargers, but this league is not designed to consistently be getting behind teams 10, 14 points and expecting victories. It's just really tough to do week in and week out. And Washington seems, for whatever reason, to keep putting themselves into that position.
Now, if Terry McLaurin's out there, I mean, Debo Samuel, that's a different story altogether. At least now you got some legitimate depth at receiving corps. But I mean, even when I guess Terry was, they had to come back anyways.
Right.
They did. I mean, that's always an issue when your team when the team is always starting out slow.
Yep.
You want to crush that early, but it's not early any longer.
Yep. No running backs have hurt you guys too. Like you don't have a running game.
I mean, the running game's been horrible, and I was kind of when they traded Brian Robinson. I like Brian Robinson. He's a big runner. He's a hard runner. He knocks people down, and he can catch the ball and run 90 yards for a touchdown with it. And it's unfortunate for him because he's not really getting utilized as much. He actually played kind of well with the 49ers. He had a good little game with the 49ers this week. But I was disappointed to see him go because of that. Maybe that it didn't work out with the coaching. I know it wasn't the coach's guy, whatever. But I was disappointed when he left. Yep.
Yeah, there's all these things I think are factors for the Commanders, and we'll just have to see how this all plays out for them. But I do feel for you guys. But look, I mean, I'm a Raiders fan, so my Raiders found yet another way to lose the game this time. I like the idea that they went for 2 in the overtime to go for the win, and then Geno Smith decides to throw the ball right into the defensive lineman. So there's you look at the replay, there's 4 guys open on the play. He tries to throw it through the chest of the defensive lineman. So the Raiders will continue to Raider. So I still would trade where your franchise is with where my franchise is any day of the week. But it is what it is. So today was our trade deadline, and shocking, we had 6 trades today, which is the third most. Jacoby Myers goes to the Jacksonville from Vegas for a couple picks. Sauce, probably the biggest one. Talk about earlier the Colts and their need for a cornerback. They go and get a really damn good one from the Jets for 2 first-round picks, one this year and one next year. Rashid Shaheed, the wide receiver from New Orleans, was probably about the only real player that they had to trade, goes to Seattle for a couple picks. A minor move for Chicago. They had some defensive depth. This guy for Cleveland really hasn't played a lot this year. He's been kind of injury prone. And the Cowboys add 2 players, Quinnen Williams, which is another big one. So the Jets stacking up first and second round picks over the next couple of years. And they also get back Logan Wilson from Cincy. Of all these deals, I think the Sauce Gardner deal is the big one for the Colts. I think that shows that they are in. That was the one area that they had a need for. They go and get it. So I really like that move for the Colts. The one that probably surprises me most are the Cowboys, because I think the Cowboys still think that they have a chance to make the playoffs. And I just don't see it with that roster the way it is. But hey, I guess good for them. Any thoughts on any of these moves today, Scooter?
Yeah, well, I thought the Jets, obviously, I think they did a great job. You hate to see Sauce Gardner go, but they love them. But I mean, they got really good return on it.
2 first-round picks.
Yeah, 2 first-round picks, one this year, one next year. And then you add that with what they did at the Cowboys. So they got a second this year and a first next year. So this year they have 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks. And next year they have 3 first-round picks, which is, this year, I mean, their first-round picks this year could be 1.
Right.
I mean, they can do anything they want to. And then if no matter, see how the Colts do. Yeah,
right.
You'll get that, which will be a little later.
Probably later, first round pick, right?
And just say it does. They're in that rebuilding mode, and they kind of the Cowboys did it in the mid to late '80s. They stunk for a few years.
Yep.
All of a sudden, they got 3 first round picks next year too. If they're not too good next year, they got those 3 picks. That's amazing, and they can trade them. They can do a lot of stuff with them. They'll probably screw it up somehow. That's what probably Jets fans are thinking.
Showtime puts in "Go big or go home." Jets are going home. Yeah. And then she puts Cowboys delusion is real, which is true. Yeah. Even after last night, I just don't see anything they could see where they think they're going to be in the playoffs. But
I didn't look at the how many years Williams had. I think he has a few years left on that contract.
He does.
But the other one, so Jacoby Myers going to the Jags for 4th and 6. Okay, 4th and 6 is a little bit, but Jacoby Myers has proven he's a good wide receiver. Plus, he's a free agent at the end of the year, so they don't have to keep him. They probably wouldn't be able to, with all the receivers, and they got some injuries out there. But then you go and see Rashid Shaheed, 4th and 5th. That's also a big haul. But Shaheed again is a free agent at the end of this year.
Yep.
And New Orleans wasn't going to pay him. And it helps Seattle because they need a little help with Jackson, Smith, and Jigba, because he can't be the only guy.
Yeah, you got to give somebody over on the other side to help eliminate those double teams, especially if that's going to come in the playoffs. So I like the moves for all the teams. I mean, on the Vegas side of it, look, Myers, he's been kind of injury this season too, and this is clearly not going to be a year for the Raiders. So,
do you think they would have re-signed Jacoby Myers at the end of this year?
I don't think so.
So they're getting a 4th and a 6th round pick for him.
It
worked out good.
I got no issues with it. We clearly aren't going anywhere this year. So adding more picks is never a bad thing. But then that would still require the Raiders to make a good pick, which that's the part where it's like, well, our history is not necessarily that good with that. So. All right.
You should just say with the Colts real quick, by getting Sauce Gardner, whoo-wee.
Yeah. Colts are going for it, which I love. I'd love to see the Colts do well. Like I like seeing not that they haven't done well before, but I still like seeing teams that maybe weren't predicted to do well in a season just do it, like kind of like Washington last year, right? No one predicted Washington making the playoffs last year, and they kind of became everyone's little darling. And I think that could maybe be Indy this year. I think it's amazing when these quarterbacks find their second homes, and the second homes turn out to work really well for them. Like what's been the case for Daniel Jones, because he's just been lights out for Indy. A little stumbling this week against Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh can do that to people. So we'll see if it's just a 1 week thing. So all right, let's talk a little NASCAR for you. So Kyle Larson wins the big race yesterday. I know there's a lot of talk about how Danny Hamlin again falls short. He had some issues that came up towards he was leading at one point in time, had some issues. So Scott, I will turn this over to you. Go ahead and chit chat about this. What happened?
Yeah, so Kyle Larson's a great race car driver. Also, there's a lot of people who it's like the NASCAR people want it to be the old school where it's just points. Now, if they did it that way, Kyle Larson still wins the championship just based on points. But the last 30 laps were insane. 3 of the 4 guys that were in contention, 3 to 4, all led, leading the last 30 laps of it. So William Byron had the lead, and then there was a caution, so he fell back when they pitted, which got so that one that got Denny Hamlin up to the front. And so Denny Hamlin's now in the front with Byron right back there, and then you had Kyle Larson and Chase Briscoe farther back. So then there was another caution. So then this is near the end, and Hamlin and Byron take 4 tires, and the other 2 guys, Larson and Briscoe, they take 2 tires. It's all interesting how the more tires, if you take 4 tires, you get better grip, but you're in the pits a little longer. You take 2, you're not getting the great grip, but you're getting out. You're going to get some spots up. So those guys got themselves to a better position. But then as they were going around, Denny Hamlin by far had the best car. It was unbelievable. I mean, he was up to about a 3-second lead, and William Byron's tire blew, which sent him up with about 5 laps left, sent Byron up to the wall, crashed out his car. He's done. So then they have to go back in again. That's not the one thing Denny Hamlin didn't want was a caution there, because that meant that they're going to have to go to overtime. I mean, he was going to win this thing. And Denny has won 60 races, 3 Daytona 500s, but has never won the championship. And in fact, Denny's father has cancer, and it's not supposed to look good for him. So obviously Denny really wanted to win this one for his dad. But so they went in, and they went into the pits under caution. Everyone went in. Denny Hamlin's crew chief says, let's take 4 tires because we're going to get the grip. But Larson's team says, we're going to take 2 tires. So Larson moves up to the front, and Denny moves to 7, 8 spots back. And it's tough to recover that. And he was never able to recover, and Kyle won the race. So I don't know why Denny Hamlin was won at. I was in Phoenix, Arizona.
I mean, is that why you think, though, he lost the races because he went for 4 tires instead of just 2?
Oh, 100%. He would have won the race with 2 tires. If they went in, he gets 2 tires, he goes out, he's in the lead. But they got 4. It cost him an extra like 8 seconds, 7 seconds in the pits. So that meant he, instead of being in first, he came out 8th.
Gotcha.
So now you got every other car in front of him only went for 2. So which meant that he was able to move his way up, but there's just not enough time.
Right. To have the 4 tires make a difference over 2. Gotcha. Okay. A few comments here. Showtime, Denny Hamlin is not confirmed to race next year. Bro is going through it. Yeah, I mean, I could see where that would be tough, especially if he's got the family issues going on. He says, me and Bicycle can confirm Byron is winning it next year.
Byron's great.
And then a few comments from Raymond. So Raymond, appreciate the comments and joining the show. Probably Denny's last shot at a championship. Honestly, at his age, I don't see him getting it. And then he throws this one out here, which I want to take to you, Scott, for your thoughts on this. And I think once maybe Anthony brought this up too, but they have to change the format through the playoffs. Showed this year that it's just a gimmick. So what are your feelings on this playoff format? Do you like it? Don't like it? Do you agree with Raymond that maybe they need some tweaking to it?
I think they may need some tweaking to it where it's instead of it's just the 4 guys, it's let's base the top 4 on points, and then you got to move in with points. So you got to lead more laps. You got to do this to win. I do like the championship race per se, but I think they need to change that a bit. So it shouldn't just be 4. So I think it was in the truck series or the secondary series, the guy dominated. The rookie dominated the secondary series. He dominated it, but he finished second in the championship, and he lost the championship. But he was like he was obviously the best driver of the entire series through the entire season. So yeah, they do need to do something a little bit.
Okay.
I think Denny has a good chance to redo this again. In NASCAR, age doesn't always mean anything. I mean, again, 48 years old, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Senior, was winning the Daytona 500.
Yeah.
So, and he almost won that one when he was 51 that he passed away in. I mean, he was right there. So, I mean, that's NASCAR too. As long as you keep yourself fit, your body wise. I know the stresses, but Denny's a racer. Denny's been doing this since he's been like 6. His parents put up a triple mortgage when he was like 14.
That's crazy.
And he loves performing for the coach, Joe Gibbs. So I mean, I just seen now if Joe Gibbs passes away, that might be a different story at some point. We're not saying that. He looked good. He looked good yesterday, but
how old is Joe now? He's got to be what, pushing
mid-80s,
90, mid-80s, yeah.
Late.
There you have it, folks. We got you covered with all the sports, even NASCAR. So you got that's what you get here on the Sideline Junkies. All right. College hoops did also begin last night. There was one big matchup. Number 13 Arizona beat number 3 Florida 93-87. There's not too many of these top 25 matchups this first week. There's a few more to come. You got Kansas against UNC on Friday, Alabama against St. John's on Saturday, and Arkansas against Michigan State on Saturday too. I'll be honest, I did not get to see much of the Arizona-Florida game. I was watching my Kent State team. They played Troy last night and lost a heartbreaker in overtime. They were down 12.5, came back, tied it up in the last minute, but couldn't do it in overtime. So I did not see much of the Arizona-Florida game, but all these teams are the powerhouses, and I expect to see them as we move forward throughout the season.
Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah, I know. It's like
I forgot basketball just started.
It's like, well, yeah, now we got college. It's like, oh boy, like talk about this is that time of year where
I just got done with baseball.
I know, right? It's like, oh yeah, now college basketball's already starting, so it's all.
I got to get back into it.
Yes, we do. All right. A little bit of time left. We'll do a quick drive the net. There's not too much yet really to go into, just a couple of quick little storylines. We talked about what the potential of this free agency field was going to look like, and yet one more name comes off of the free agency field. What looked like was going to be the class of all classes, it could end up being a dud by the time we get done, because these teams the salary cap's going up next year again. These teams have money to spend, so they're just not even letting these guys get to the point where they could be talked about being traded. Martin Necas signs his deal with Colorado. For those that don't know, he last year was with Carolina, got traded for Ratinen with Colorado. They could not sign Ratinen in Carolina, so then Ratinen gets turned right around to Dallas for Logan Stankoven, who the Canes did lock up to a long-term deal, which kind of fits their system a little bit more. Necas was the player that went out to Colorado. He's an explosive player. He has his moments where he can look and he's been really, really good for Colorado, leading the team in scoring for them. So he gets his 8-year, $11 million deal to stay. The only problem for Necas is he does have some problems on the defensive side of the ice, and does tend to sometimes, I would say, take a game or two off where it's just like, oh yeah, Martin Necas is on the team, but I never saw him on the, like, he has games where you're just like, did he play? Like, I don't remember seeing him on the ice. But when he's into it and he's playing, he can be an electric player. So overall, I still like the deal for Colorado. They also announced at during the football game last night that the NHL Stadium Series, which is their outdoor game, last year was in Columbus with Detroit. This year it's going to be down in Florida. This year, or for 27, is going back to Dallas. They will be playing in Cowboys Stadium, which will be interesting to see how that plays out. But it's a big win for the NHL getting a game in that stadium. We'll see what the crowd, what they end up making the crowd for that game. But again, it's a chance to have another another high 80, $90 fan crowd, which I think the NHL really likes with these Stadium Series games. So they go back to Dallas. They won't announce the opponent just yet, but Dallas last played at the Cotton Bowl in a Stadium Series game against St. Louis. So they get another outdoor game, coming up in 27. Any thoughts on the Nature signing or the Stadium Series to Dallas?
Well, Nature signs a good deal for both involved. Nature's in Colorado. He'll defensively usually, maybe he'll learn every year he gets a little better, maybe. But you would know more. He was your guy for a little bit. But the NHL Stadium Series, I saw some of the AI pictures that they made of what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
Ooh, it looks pretty cool.
It will be cool, especially like if you can get that upper like I don't know if I'd want to be in the very top of that stadium, but then again they got that huge scoreboard, so I guess you could still see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, good for Dallas. I that their fans do well there. I think it'll be a good show, for sure. Real quick on the ice stuff, Pittsburgh just continues to roll. Malkin and Crosby are playing like it's circa 10 years ago again. Kind of reminds me of like how Ovi played last year. He felt and looked younger with chasing the record, and I maybe it's just because it's their last hurrah with Pittsburgh, with them both being technically free agents after this year. But Pittsburgh's sitting there 8-4-2, 18 points. They just keep winning. They have not fallen off. A lot of people were curious if the Pittsburgh was going to be in the run for tanking it to have the possibility of the number 1 pick this year. But no, they're going for a playoff run.
They'll probably be making some deals at the trade deadline to improve their team.
Yeah, but it's crazy how good
probably before that too, by the way.
It's just crazy how good they are playing right now. Yeah. So Malkin is sitting there at 19 points. Like I did not see Malkin being second in scoring at 19 points. Just crazy right now.
Crosby's got 9 goals.
Yeah. Crosby's
he's got 9 goals. He's the assist guy.
Yeah. So good for it's good for hockey when the Penguins are good. Like that's one of those teams that the league is just better when they're good. So we'll see. Again, it's early. We're still technically only 4 weeks in. Most of these teams have only played 10 to 14 of their 82 games. So lots of time still left to see where this thing plays out.
Now, here's an interesting thing. Just before we head out to that is that Chris Greer with the Dolphins, he just got fired this week for being their general manager. And he was a general manager for like 8 years. They went to I forgot, but they went to like 3 playoffs. Forgot about that. So Chris got the axe. Now, it made me think, well, what about his brother, Mike? He's the general manager at San Jose. And, you don't get a lot of San Jose publicity out here on these parts in the East. So I checked it in his record out, and it's like, ooh boy, he hasn't won 23 games as a general manager in over 3 years, and they're on pace to win 21 games this year. The two of them may be looking for work together.
There's some signs though with San Jose. I mean, the Calabrini is a good kid. Their other kid. I mean, they're 4-6-3, so they were the last team to win a game. Now they've won 4 out of their last 7. So
look, he's a good player. There's no question.
Maybe some signs that San Jose's got some life, but we'll see.
And they've just lost their father too about 2 weeks ago.
Right,
who was a longtime executive with the Patriots.
My Montreal Canadiens still rolling at 9-3 as well, leading the Atlantic Division. So that prediction's looking pretty good, at least.
Yeah, Montreal's looking good.
New Jersey 9-4. They finally slowed back down a little bit. Colorado 7-1-5. They've lost 5 games in overtime for those weird cheapo points. Seattle kind of surprised too, 6-2-4. So another team that's still hanging in there at the top that maybe a lot of people didn't have. So right now the worst team in the NHL is the Calgary Flames at 3-9-2. They just cannot get anything going. We'll see. Again, still lots of time. Washington, I know we got a lot of Caps fans. They're sitting there 6-5-1. You're worried in the sense that there's 13 points, but first place to last place of 8 teams is separated by 5 points right now in the Metro Division. It's just completely jammed up. So
they're a point out of Carolina. Carolina's in 3rd place, and they're 1 point.
And Carolina's had some serious injuries to start this year, so we'll see where things move for them. So,
although Washington has played somewhat poorly the past week. So or a week and a half, I should say. So they might want to, get a little more scoring off and, work on that. But they did fire one of their coaches.
Yep, they did. Sarah was at the Canes game on Thursday. She saw two players score their first goal, Bradley Nadeau, and I can't remember the second one, but she enjoyed that. And then she said, "Well, the Canes lose to the Rangers at Madison Square Garden." Yeah, they never win at Madison Square Garden, and I think we're playing PK tonight, so it's his first game tonight. So we'll see how that goes in goal for them. But with that said, we're going to try to do this still. This is usually Sarah's bit, but she's having connection issues. But she did send me some stuff here. So if I can put these through in order. So she has here, last week was Halloween night, a bunch of weird scenarios, part 1. Then she has Elaine didn't perform due to a rib injury. Jen and her partner had the flu. And then Dylan got a broken nose. And then Jen got eliminated. Andy still lives on, damn it, for part 3. And she says, tonight is rock and roll night, part 4. I guess it's so that way I can find them. And then she says, Alex, Jordan, Andy, Daniel, Whitney, bitch, Robert, Elaine, Dylan are left. Top 3 for her is Robert, Elaine, and Jordan, but the judges keep shoving Whitney down our throats. And then she has Andy, Elaine, or Whitney are my predictions of possibilities to go home tonight. But it seems like if they like Whitney, maybe that won't be the case. So there you have it, as best as we can. I think that was it.
Well, Sarah, Showtime, if you're hearing, let me know if they play any Bad Company tonight.
Yeah, we'll want to note the rock and roll songs that they play for sure. So
Yeah.
you can give us that. We'll make sure that they were actually good rock and roll songs. So, all right. So there we have it, folks. That is the Dancing with the Stars update as best as we can with technical difficulties that she's having. So down the road, next week's show, we will be back again on Tuesday. Dancing with the Stars will keep getting closer. Will there be any changes to our playoff teams? A little news here on the Sideline Junkies. Starting next week, we're going to have another show on Tuesday night as well. Unapologetic Sports. Sorry, I realized I did not put the I in unapologetic with Lee Ice and Flying Brian. So that means next week, ladies and gentlemen, on the Sideline Junkies Network, you're going to have a triple header. You'll have us at 5 o'clock. You'll have Unapologetic Sports at 6:30, and then around 8:15, the Tuesday night flight will begin. So we're going to have wall-to-wall sports coverage for you on next Tuesday with an amazing triple header. So that just goes to show you how much we are growing here on the Sideline Junkies Network. So we look forward to that on Tuesday with another show joining us.
But you were very apologetic about spelling unapologetic incorrectly.
I wasn't I? So
Yeah,
that'll probably be a little bit different than what the show would do. So we'll see how that goes. But welcome, guys. I can't wait to have you guys. Can't wait to.
Now.
Yeah, right.
Unapologetically.
I'll just make it that way. That's the way it's spelled. That's the way I am, and I'm not going to apologize for spelling it that way either. There we go. All right, so there we go. So, and I'll get them added to the list here too, but I wanted to highlight them. So that show will join the list of all these other amazing shows here that you can find on the Sideline Junkies network. So we appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate the comments on all the shows. And so with that, Scooter, anything that you want to add before we say goodbye?
The next time we talk will be Tuesday. So Monday is the 250th birthday of the United States Marine Corps. Happy birthday, guys and gals. And keep drinking all the Coors Light you want, because they love Coors Light. Love our Marines.
We do. Appreciate anyone in the armed forces. It's all good stuff. Uh-oh, what we got there? Oh, look at that. You're ready to go. So. Yeah. And Scooter does a lot of great work with our military, with some of the work he does. So I don't have the ball cap on, but tip of the hat for all the stuff that you do. It's all good work. And again, see, that's what I love about this show. Like, for anyone that doesn't know, and you probably can't even tell from watching this show, Scooter and I don't always see eye to eye on some of the stuff politically, but that's the good thing about sports. Like we can take all that stuff and we throw it out the window when it comes time. And I think that's important for people. You gotta,
I think Maddie and I until I finally said, okay, I'll put this one to rest. It was probably our battles about the hurricanes, whalers, stuff like that.
Yes.
And
we did. Those were fun.
Like, you know what, Matt? You are great. And you deserve to be a great fan. And I'm going to stop criticizing you.
But but I get it for you, for you, because I mean, like, look, if my team got pulled away from the city that I love and the team that I love, like, I kind of hate the fact that it is, that the Carolina Hurricanes wouldn't exist without the Hartford Whalers, because as you know, one of my favorite jerseys of all time is, of course, the Hartford Whaler jersey, So I don't like the fact that I only get to see it when they do. Oh, I never did. Remind me next week, because I got the picture from when they played Colorado. So you got the Hartford Whalers with the Quebec Nordiques. Oh, there it is. Yeah. See, that's just you can't beat that logo.
That's old.
That's the logo right there. It's
No.
There's nothing wrong with that logo
I'm
at all.
stripping.
I love that logo. It's the best logo. But anyway, so with that said, Scooter, any other that's it for you, right? Just the two.
That's it for me. Let's have a great week and enjoy it. Have fun.
All right. So we
enjoy
got Tuesday
life
night.
and be happy.
That's right. Tuesday night flight coming up here at 8. I think 8:15 is usually what time they get on. Sometime between 8:15. Check back in. They'll be on here. I'm sure they're going to have some. You're gonna hear some stuff about the Commanders. I'm sure for sure. They'll also talk about you'll get the updated Jack's top 10 for his college football. They'll update their list of the top 5 quarterbacks going on. They'll have a good breakdown of all that stuff for you guys. So until then, please make sure that you tell your loved ones that you love them and give them a hug, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. But if you are here, we hope that you join us next Tuesday at 5 o'clock for drive time. Until then, everyone, we will see you later.